Welcome back, Shinners, and welcome to the Shindig podcast, where we like to get under the skin of that Trolls community. Another special guest. All of our guests are special, of course. Powerhouse of a rider. We go way back. I know Chris Jackson will be very happy that you've also been on because he's obsessed with your accent. Let's hear it for Mr. Joe Prattley. Yo, 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 yo.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, mate.
How are we doing?
I'm good. I'm even better now that I'm seeing you. It has been some time since us personally have even seen or spoken to one another. But how are you doing today?
Yeah, well, not too bad, thank you. It's a bit chilly up north, but you know.
Yeah, I did see for the listeners there just before off air. This is actually the first podcast we're doing with beer because I don't drink beer in the middle of the day, but this is in the evening, in good spirit. And he sent me a photo of your beers in the fridge, which was actually in the snow.
It's been a bit grim up here. What we call big coat weather. You know, like I don't think you Southerners would step outside.
No, we do. I mean, of course it's big coat weather. We just don't get snow that often down here. So I can see above your head for the listeners that it says Yorkshireman, which is brilliant, mate. That it couldn't have been more perfect. Which might explain. Can you explain to us all where are you in the world right now?
Well, ironically, I'm not in Yorkshire anymore. I've defected. I live in Durham now. I've moved, so I can hear the gasp from you. No, me and my partner Becky, we bought our first house last year. So yeah, we live up in Durham now.
Serious adulting, that is, buying a house.
No, I didn't realise adult life is just relentless. I had it so good. You know, I went out on my bike and then kind of came home and you throw your clothes at this basket and, you know, and you miss and then somehow they come back in your drawer sorted out. So
yeah.
Bit of a change.
But it's a special Jim Carrey line. It's just reminded me of every great man has a woman behind him rolling her eyes. And that's what I can see Becky doing for you.
Becky's definitely got this special face. It's kind of a deadpan thing that I get quite often. So especially telling jokes, you know. So
yeah. And I always start off with this too. Can you remember how we might have actually met, Joe? Myself and you. Can you remember? I vaguely, again, Radfest just kind of tinkles in the ear there.
It's got to be one of those things where if you talk about meeting somebody, if it's in like you say to someone, you know, hi, how's it going? You know, like there'll be a lot of trials riders who have been to mainly like Radfest and Tie Days and these other events who've shared the same field for 3 days, but never necessarily met or, you know, like, or been to comps or whatever. And like, it's really bizarre because there's lots of people I've known and like now some of my best friends through trials who I've spent time in a field with and never spoken to. And now I speak to them all the time, you know, like when I started trials, like my first like insight into it was my parents taking me we went to Brimham Rocks I went to Brimham Rocks as a child with my parents. Yeah. And there was a trial on and I saw Ben Savage and all these riders and I thought, wow, that's cool. And then obviously got my trials bike and blah, blah, blah. And then years later, I'm riding with Ben Savage. I was at Ben Savage's wedding, you know, like I saw this field. Yeah,
it does shape your life, right? The sport
it's bizarre.
Depending on how much you put into it, what you put into it, you get out of it, I believe. But it's definitely one of those sort of sports where you didn't really need to know anybody because as soon as you saw someone with a trials bike, you're like, that's my friend. I don't know who they are. That's my friend. So your mind is just as bad as mine. I know we maybe have, I won't say met, because we've probably seen each other many times. Right? We kindled a bromance, perhaps, at one of the Radfests there. And I can certainly relate to it shaping and making friends. I mean, your big bromance. I'm going to say Adam Baxter, you know, you two started to come as a pair after a while, didn't you? You know,
well,
wouldn't go anywhere without each other.
I don't know whether people know this or not, but me and Baxter actually went to school together. So
Well, we do now. I did not know. What, like, sort of primary school, secondary school, high school? You know what?
secondary school, yeah. So I obviously how old are you when you start secondary school? I don't know.
Oh, 12 or 13.
How the
You're almost a
education
teenager.
system works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've known Adam since I was like 11 or 12. So we've known each other for like a very, very long time. And I mean, obviously there's been throughout what, again, it's the career or whatever you want to describe it.
Yeah.
I think you describe it as a journey through trials or something the other day. I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, it is, because everyone's got. To some of us, it is a career. To others, it's just some crazy adventure.
Yeah, so throughout that, I mean, there's been like lots of people I've known and stuff, but Adam's been there from the start. And I mean, I saw him too, like a couple of days ago. We went and had a ride. So, I mean,
well, that was going to be my next question. You just said you had a ride. When was the last time you may have got out on your bike? But I don't know, was it a trials bike or something else?
So we're recording this sort of Friday now. I rode on Wednesday, so 2 days ago. But I've been back on the trials bike. Yeah, I mean, I did go through a stint where I had no desire to ride at all. We were going out and riding a lot of street, and I just kind of felt like I was going out, and then I was attacking the same wall and going, well, I can't do the things I was doing. So, and I'm, we're only really doing
puts yourself down, right?
Yeah, a little bit. And I was really enjoying riding the BMX a lot, and there was a lot of progression with that, and then like regression with the trials bike. And I thought, well, I'll kind of throw my hat in with the BMX because I was enjoying it so much. But now I've been out, maybe being back on it about a month or so now, and I really thought I would never be as good a rider as I had been in the past. And I rode the other night and thought, I'm kind of getting back to that. I really, we just had a fantastic time, like it was really good. He was doing stuff and I'm thinking, God, I'll never be able to do that. And then we had a go, and then I'm doing stuff and he's like, it was really, really good. It was really one of those, I think it's the kind of thing that it's bizarre with trials where you just go, that was a good ride. And you can't explain it or why you've been.
Or sometimes it's the people or just that one person that you ride with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure Baxter's pushes you as that one person that might be that guy that's kind of like, mate, I know you can do that, so crack on. Like, stop pushing out, get on with it.
Well, he's like a coiled spring, that lad.
Oh, yeah, almost. Yeah.
I mean,
it's like a flea. Bing.
I mean, he's a coiled spring off a lowered car, not a full Defender, but he's coiled. So
yeah. For those who actually don't know, Joe very well, I will name you the powerhouse, one of the powerhouses of the country.
Really?
Put down to, if we had a trump card, I want to start getting to this, you'd be like 110% power, but I'll go with maybe 60% accuracy, something along those lines, maybe 50%. He's like, am I
that's offensive?
No, I'm hey mate, we're here to dig deep. Come on, I wanted to see your reaction.
You're going to ask me about the worst shindig, and I think it was the one you just gave me there.
So you actually, that one was a physical, real hit home there, but no, I mean that in the best way, because I've always seen you as a rider who should just test every trials company's parts.
Yeah, well, I did. To be fair, that was something that really did. I did go through a lot of parts.
I know, yeah. You had Trial Tech sending you stuff that was never made yet. There were frames that people would send you like, Prattley Power, that's the name that I gave you. He's the guy that's going to test all the stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, funny you mentioned Trial Tech, actually, because the Trial Tech stuff was, I mean, everyone listening to, everybody who's listening to this podcast, I presume, knows Trial Tech stuff, and it is.
Who? Trial Tech? Who are they? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, who are they? Who are they? But I mean, that's the stuff that it's obviously very well designed. It's very well thought out. there's nothing really awry. The only problem with Tratec is they don't make enough of the stuff. You know, like, I mean, it's like Tratec high-rise handlebars or whatever. They're a staple of, you know, of the trials community. It's like, you know, I mean, I know you're into your guitars. It's like a Les Paul or whatever. Imagine them just not making anymore, and you think, well, why are they not making them anymore? So that's the only downfall. I mean, but Onza bikes and, dare I say, like on it and stuff, I did break them. But then
you were meant to some extent.
I tell you one thing though, when you get centre frame and you don't pay for it, right? You don't treat it like you do a frame you bought. Not a chance.
No, exactly.
Gap to hook? Yes, please.
Gap to down tube? Thank you very much. No, but that's sort of part of it, mate. And I know you're always that one that was never really afraid to really throw the bike and give it a good.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's there for a reason. I think there's a lot of. I heard a rumor about Formula One drivers and apparently like Formula One and MotoGP drivers and stuff, riders. They if they get a new helmet, sometimes they'll drop it and just go, "Oh, well, I've dropped it now. It doesn't. I've scratched it. It means I not have to worry about it and carry it around in this little bag and stuff like that." If you're going to go out and spend 1,500 quid on a bike, like, it's not a museum piece. It's there to be ridden. If you know, like, it ends up being worth £1. It's 1,500 quid or 14.99. Well spent, isn't it? Because
I think that's why I can't buy new cranks. It's the one thing you scratch instantly. And through my entire 15 years of trials, I've never bought brand new cranks.
They should come scratched.
Yeah, we're just going to do.
Dave Cleaver.
Shindig.
He just needs to get a hacksaw and just go out. Who cares? You know that it's done.
No, that's part of it, and that's as through your career. I know you've breaking bikes. You've probably ridden for most display teams in the UK, haven't you? Actually, I would say you've 360.
Yeah, I mean, you asked Rich this question the other day as well. Actually, he said I've not ridden for drop and roll and kind of left it there. But I mean, there's so many. I mean,
you were with Danny Butler's team for a while. Actually, I think you're the first person I
know. I did one. I did one with Danny Butler, but it wasn't with Danny Butler. It was just with Prattley a long time ago. But then me and Danny fell out. Well, I say fell out. I can't remember what I called him.
Listen, I don't think you're the first person to fall out with Danny.
I can't remember what. And again, actually, funny enough, it was to do with Rich Pearson. I think Richard, you know, he was talking about falling off bikes. He fell off in a show, and Danny Butler had said it was about leaving it to the professionals, and I called him a name.
Oh, yeah, you stood right. Okay, you stood there, and yeah.
Oh yeah, well, this is it. I mean,
it's got to make it real, though, haven't you?
Yeah, well, we're talking about social media before, and you were saying before we started, like, you couldn't dig up any dirt on me because I'm not really a social media person.
You never have been, really.
I tried to be. Do you not remember the hashtag Joe Prattley, the Andre Burton thing for a while?
Oh, actually, yeah. No, you did have an. What am I thinking about? You did have an Instagram account. I just think it was obviously gone now, and I was like, well, I'm sure it existed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it first all came about, and I was doing a lot of riding. I thought, well, if I'm going to get into it, I'll get into it, and I tried to do all the hashtags and kind of build up this kind of base to get some sponsorship. And I thought, well, it's free, and if it means that the sponsors are happy or whatever, and that's great. But I can you look back at it now and you cringe a bit, but it is what it is.
Mate, we're all trying
to
make use of our time here. You know, we're all trying to make good use of our time here, and getting out on the bike, I have to say, is a very good choice for that. You know, let off some
when you
steam,
snap frames like I do, you need to you need to keep the sponsors happy if they're sending you one a month.
Yeah, well, you also speaking of, like, you know, sponsors, so on, you've been through your fair share of companies and you've supported them, and you've definitely made an impact to the scene as a very unique style, unique rider. You were one of the few that actually, well, were you on the Mary Poppins film? Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think you've had.
I'm only saying that now because you were on it. I saw your name in the credits, but I didn't fucking see you.
No, well, I don't think anyone saw anybody. Like it was a good experience. I mean, I'm glad I did it, definitely. And to have, if you type my name into Google, which I'm sure you may have tried, digging dirt, as you said you were.
Yeah, I always try to.
I've got my own IMDb page, that was really cool. Like that was quite a bit of a moment there.
Well, it. That's quite an achievement in, I'll use the word career. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to,
cycling journey.
Cycling
journey.
The human cycle. Oh wow, that was a really bad pun. Let's just forget that I just said that.
Bloody hell.
Moving on. One of the things I'm just making sure I cover all my grounds here, because I know after a few beers we'll just lose track of time. I wanted to ask if you're riding anymore. You are riding. Does that mean? Sorry, you already said that you are riding. What are you riding now? What trials bike are you riding at the moment?
Well, originally I had an Ashton Justice for a while, which was a really good nostalgia trip. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Lovely bike. And I bought the frame and I stripped it all down, so then polished it up, and it had a big Tarty bike sticker down the top tube, which looked awesome. It was a really lovely bike. And then I obviously started getting, like I say, I mean, I was riding with Baxter and stuff. I thought, fucking, I just can't keep up with him. I had to change the frame. So then I bought, I've got a Cox Cloud now.
Oh, yes. Love those.
Which is what a beautiful thing. It sounds mad, and this is back to being trials riders are very, we're all geeky people and weird.
Weenies.
I saw it and I was like, I have to have that. I'd always wanted one, and it is brilliant. It suits me down to the ground, perfect for my style or whatever, and it's lovely to look at. I think if I'll never sell it, I'll just keep it and put it on the wall because it's just a lovely looking thing. So, I mean, I did take all the graphics off that as well. So it only has it's got a little cloud and a lightning bolt on the...
Less is more.
Yeah, absolutely.
More, I really do like those frames. Obviously, they don't make them anymore. There are still a few about.
No.
But hopefully I'll get to see you on that beast soon then. I mean, it's good to hear.
Well, this year, I think this year will be... I know that Tom's obviously moving Radical Bikes around, which is it's only a good thing. It's new lines for everyone to try. Yeah. That field had been, everyone's dug deep into that field and really done lines, especially when Carthy turned up and annihilated the so.
Yeah, I actually can't wait to get there to start building this year.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that, and hopefully this summer we can get down there, have a couple of beers, and do some riding. So
absolutely, mate. You took the words out of my mouth. We'll do the standard quickfire round where we ask those standard 4 questions that I always forget anyway, but I'll remember them today. Firstly, what is your favourite place to ride your trials bike? Where's your favourite spot?
I've always had like a bit of an affinity with Radical Bikes, because years ago I went to the first Radfest, and you had Miki on your podcast, and we were messaging each other and stuff like that, and he says, "Oh, you need to come to Radfest." I said, "Oh, I can't. I could, but I have to get the train." I was quite young at the time. I couldn't drive, so I have to get the train. He goes, "Oh, come and stay at my house." Never met the lad.
Yeah, I know what it's like. He reached directly to me about the first Radfest. It was like, "Hey, dude, come to this place." We're like, "Who is this guy? This is weird."
Yeah.
No, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so, and then obviously I went to stay at his house, and my parents were like, "Who is this? Who is this guy?"
Have you met him?
Sure, you're gonna be all right. Don't know, mate. You'll be all right. Yeah. So I mean, I've known Tom, Mick, Maria, and all the Mitchell family for a long time, and I just love going there because it's nice. It's a nice feeling when you go, and it's a family thing, and every time I see them, it's like you're seeing friends as well as getting. You can't lose in that.
It's a full-on holiday.
Oh, well, I mean, like I go, don't get me wrong as well. It's not a little trip for us. It's like
Yeah.
4.5 hours down to Radical Bikes. So every time I go, they appreciate that we make the effort, but it's not, we can't lose because we go and we get treated like family. We get to ride and enjoy ourselves and have a good laugh. And there's no loss for me, you know. So I mean, I love riding there. It's great. And a lot of the memories I have from trials riding have been there, you know, like especially all the rad fests, you know, I'll remember.
It is a hub. It's a hub of our community, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It's beautiful. It's like, you know, if you go on the top of a mountain range and you see this beautiful scene, if you go to Radical Bikes and stand at one end of the field and see all these riders just enjoying themselves, it's such a nice thing to see.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I mean, I think other than that, my local place, like the place I ride the most at the moment, is the Barn, which is Chester. Like one of the lads we ride with, Chester. That's his. He decided.
Right. I wonder where that was. In case people didn't know, Adam Baxter.
Yeah.
I've seen some clips of you guys in a nice dry. I won't say warm. A dry barn, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit like the Mitchells in a sense that obviously he loved riding his bike. He had the opportunity and he just took it like a little bit selflessly. And now there's a place for us to ride and we go and we enjoy it all the time.
Is that where you rode on Wednesday night? Where you got
it is, yeah. So
because nowadays, you know, you're pretty limited with the light, as I would just say.
Yeah.
And who? All right. Well, who would be your? I think I know the answer, but I might be wrong. Who'd be your biggest inspiration that inspires you to stay on the bike, to get on the bike? It can be anyone, someone that pushes you.
Who are you thinking I'm going to say? Is it going to be like David Watson?
No. I think it's Baxter, personally.
Oh, you mean like day to day?
Well, I mean, like, okay, maybe we should answer who. Yeah, it could be who motivates.
There's two
you?
Types. There's two types.
Like,
there's like child sat in a bedroom watching a computer thinking, oh, I wish I could ride like that. And then there's like someone who go, God, I wish I could.
Who gets you out on the bike then? Because yeah, you can be like, I want to be like that person, but who's generally getting you out?
Again, yeah, but to be fair, it's the lads that I ride with now at Chester and Marcus Chapman and Adam Baxter. So there's those three. And to be honest, I don't really see anyone else on a bike other than those three. So it's really good for us because when we go riding, like now, Chester and Marcus, they're kind of pushing each other, and me and Baxter are pushing each other.
Exactly. This is kind of my point. So, it's all great that everyone says, I always ask them, what's your inspiration? That's fine. I think that can be the best riders in the world. That's great inspiration. But what's actually more important is those people who motivate you to get towards that. So like you've just said, you and Baxter will push each other and make each other go out. And I know there are listeners here who ride on their own a lot. I can't do that. I know.
I can't either. Yeah, absolutely.
Back and forth there with it. So, all right. Well, if that's your most motivating, who's your favourite rider you like to watch or like most inspiring, however you want to see it?
It's tough, isn't it? It's a tough question actually because it depends on when you're asking me. If you're asking me, like,
oh, you mean like
if you're. If you ask me as a 15-year-old boy, like when I first started, obviously you've got to watch like chain spotting and tricks and stunts and stuff, and that's like your early trials career, and you think, right, pedal kicks, and you got hands wriggling, the chocolate foot, and all that stuff. And then so that's my early bit, and then in the middle you've got Craigley Scott, Neil Tunnicliffe, Damon Watson, and those kind of riders, like your classic street riders. And now, I mean, I actually really enjoy watching like the trial noir stuff. Like, you know, you got like Chris Craig, and that's definitely influenced me riding in like more recent years.
Yeah.
I like now I land everything.
Obviously, it varies as time goes on.
Yeah. So I mean, but I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I mean, I've been lucky enough to meet quite a lot of people on that list, you know. So, I mean, you forget that they're just normal people, which kind of gives you that inspiration as well. You go, if he can do it, I should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We are we're freaking human beings, right? There's
Yeah,
nothing
that's it.
superhuman about any of us, like really. I mean,
obviously you interviewed Charlie Rose and Jack Carthy, so that's not necessarily true. They are.
I mean, they are still humans.
Yes,
but yeah, they maybe they're taking something that we don't know about. So
those kids were designed to be on bikes, weren't they? I mean, I can remember I had the pleasure of seeing like Jack and Charlie like ride, and I thought like they've got something that the rest of us just haven't, and it's not even the power or the size of the moves, it's just the control. They're just designed to be on those bikes.
Yeah, there's some kind of neuron paths that haven't been designed, or haven't even made it into the human brain, but somehow they're doing it. I know.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah.
Whole other level. All right, what would you say your favourite move or stunt, trick, whatever people want to fucking call it? What's your favourite move in trials?
To be honest,
it's a tough one, is it? Yeah, I mean,
it is tough.
What gives you that buzz, you know?
I like doing the things I'm not good at. If I do something I'm not good at very well, like I go, oh, well, did you see that? You know, it's almost as if like you've fluked something. You know, if I like you said before, I was quite a powerful rider, and
you are quite a powerful rider.
Yeah, the accuracy. The accuracy was like a bit off, and it was something that then I've worked on. So you've not seen me ride in like quite a while, and I have got a lot better, because the thing that I'm not good at is the thing that I get the most pleasure out of. So if I do a big side up or a big up to front, I go, well, I know I can do that. You know, I've before. Yeah. And as with most trials riders, you go out riding, you've done it before. Like you go, I did that a month ago when we rode past. Like the same, you ride the same walls and the same spots and stuff. So the tech stuff is something I've kind of got a little bit better at, and I enjoy. I ride away smiling, thinking.
I feel there's a 60-inch side up. I'm like, oh, okay, and then there's like a post that's a foot off the ground, jumps on it, does a 360. Yeah. I totally relate, mate. No, I get it. Because you, as a whatever it might be, that person, what you get out of that trick when you land it. I mean, that's why we ride. You get the endorphins, you get the boost. It could be a 2-foot gap, it could be an 8-foot gap, but you could get the same feeling from doing it. It's just completely dependent on the person. So, interesting answer, because I think that seems to fit the most. Because at the end of the day, your favorite trick would be the one that you enjoyed the most, you got the most out of.
And I think it's nice. It's always really nice as well to see people, especially on the bigger rides, like we did like the DJ ride and all the like rad fests and stuff like that. If someone watches something and goes, wow, that was good, you know, I enjoyed that, and that gives you a bit of a boost as well. Because I mean, there are people that'll say like they kind of say, oh, I ride for myself and I don't care what anyone else thinks about my riding. I'm like, oh, you know, give over.
Yeah.
Because everybody rides for like that little bit of. If you rode for yourself and
you just ride on your own.
Yeah, you just ride on your own. So like, it's nice to have that like little bit of like it's not appreciation, because you're not going out there to say like and I get everyone's appreciation, but if you can do something, everyone goes, how the hell did you do that? You're right away thinking, haha, this is good, you know.
Yeah, and you'll appreciate from other riders when you know, especially when you know a rider personally and you see them do something out of their normal comfort zone or out of their threshold, then I instantly I'm like, wow, yes, mate, that was awesome, because I know what they're getting from that as well as myself. And that's why people always say, you might see something small and you go, yes, mate, right? That's the most common thing you hear in trials.
Yes, mate.
But yes, mate, yes.
Maybe down south, mate. Up here it's yes, lad.
Oh, yeah. Yes, lad.
Yes, lad.
But it's that kind of, you know what they're getting from it. And so are you.
Absolutely.
It's like, mate, I know you feel good about that, and I feel good for you. Yes, mate. Yeah, crack on, you know.
I think that's the fantastic thing that I've found in trials is that the steps are obvious, you know. So like you see some fella that's just learning to bunny hop, and you think, well, if you know them well enough, you know their limits, and you could watch them do a side up of 2 or 3 pallets or so, and you think, bloody hell, you know, you weren't doing that last week. That's impressive. And you can, that's the inspiration.
It's a serious respect as well, isn't it? Because as a rider,
we've all been there, you know, like.
Exactly that. We know what it's like to stand on the pedals and think to just try and hop, for example. Yeah, some people may have caught it quicker than others. There are some riders who really excelled in a few years, and I respect them massively. But they still had to, you know, start somewhere. Speaking of, you know, starting somewhere and learning, what was your worst? I say this because as we ride, we all learn from falling off and hurting ourselves. Can you remember your worst ever shin dig, Prattley?
So I
straight into it.
I've watched all your podcasts, right? And
whilst you're doing that, I'm going to get another beer because it's that time.
Run.
Hang on.
Right, run. I'm also going to open a beer.
I thought this is where you were going to turn around and tell me, I don't get shindigs.
Well, my shins tell a different story. Right. So I've been thinking about this because I knew you were going to ask the question. I mean,
is there more than one? Is that what you mean?
Oh, there's thousands.
Oh.
I mean, my shins are battered, you know, like.
We'll get a picture.
The worst one, and I'm not sure whether it counts. You can be the judge on that, but it was the first ever Radfest, and I'd tried to go to front. Oh, no, I tell a lie. I tried to hook. You know, I mean, everyone who's ridden Radfest will know the green tin box with the hook. You know, the static hook.
Yeah. There's a slight slant decked board.
Yeah. So I tried to hook that. And for some reason, my front foot had slipped off the pedal, and my knee had hit the front brake. I'd snapped the hose and then put the barb through my knee.
Wait, so not even a pedal? This was not a pedal. I think this is the first one that wasn't a pedal.
Well, this is the thing, though. It's not a shin, technically.
But no, I mean, your knee's
it's lower leg.
It's part of your leg. It's just generally, it's the most thing. So, oh my days. So people don't understand. It's the barb of part of the hosing, which is a metal thread that goes into the pod, the cylinder, whatever you want to call it. And that penetrated your knee.
It went into my knee, yeah. So, like, just the left-hand side, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I just remember seeing a little hole and thinking, what the hell's done that? And I looked down, and there's like my hose has snapped off, and it's got a little bit of like royal blood and a little bit of actual blood on this.
Oh, there was blue and there was red.
Yeah. So I went to the hospital. I remember Martin Granger took me through to the hospital. And like, bless him, I think he'd just come back from taking someone else to the hospital, then took me. And the woman in the thing, she said, is there anything that could have contaminated? I went, well, yeah, hydraulic oil. Oh, God. So, yeah, that hurt. That really did hurt, that one. But,
wow.
If you want proper shin, it's when I first started riding trials when I was younger. And I remember seeing all the people I was watching on videos, especially obviously in Europe, had the brakes the wrong way around, and I didn't know really that this was like what was going on.
Let's see where this is going. Yeah, go on.
Obviously, being a young kid, I thought, and I had a little T-Pro, and I took the cables out and turned them round, thinking maybe this is going to be better for me, and I just went, and like I say, tore my shin. But my mum, this has been the first proper one. You know, like your mum, every trials rider must have a mum that goes, "Oh, I've seen it 1,000 times now. I don't care anymore." You're not
you're
gonna...
like, oh, you've got little graze on your shin, yeah.
That was the first one. So like, she'd rushed me to hospital thinking he's gonna die, and it was that bad.
I guess the first one was one of the worst ones. I mean,
yeah, it was brutal.
I like to think that over the years we do train ourselves. I used to wear shin pads. I now don't wear shin pads. I still get shindigs, but definitely not as many. It's just one of those things. Over time, I feel like you just learn just to kind of step away from the bike. I like to think.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've not had a bad one in a long time, but
touch wood. I'll be careful now.
One, yeah,
let's talk about this, mate.
And now I deserve one, so I'm going to call back in a week's time.
But I
had the worst.
So
one.
I've got my new worst one,
Yeah.
And you've actually had a serious amount of trials bikes too. I mean, like numbers. You've had a few frames. When we were talking about earlier about you testing them, breaking them. Trials bikes don't last forever.
I've had lots of bikes.
Do you know how many you might have had actually? Have you? Well, how long have you been riding? And it must have been more than one a year, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how long have you been riding a trials bike?
Sometimes 2 a month. Like it was unreal. Because obviously not only did I do you got sense of, so I had some from Joe Poyser at Onza for a long while, and then On It and a couple of other brands and stuff, but I was properly dabbled in the second-hand market. I was like the Yorkshire Del Boy of trials, and I used to sell all these frames and stuff. So if I'd have had I could have had 100. I could have had 100 bikes,
It's
Easy.
Possible. Yeah, I want someone to come up. I'm waiting for someone to be like, yeah, I actually have a full list of every single frame I've ever owned in the dates and everything, and it'd be like 100 bikes. I'm sure we can't be.
How many beers have you got? Because I could probably tell you.
Be like, I'm not 100 beers. Anyway,
No.
I've got probably about 5 in this fridge. There is another crate downstairs, so I am prepared. I'm still drinking my Christmas booze at the moment. I'm still going.
I think I'm probably enough of a bike nerd to be able to tell you what bikes I've had and what spec they were. I mean, I can't remember people's names for the life of me. I'm terrible with names, but I could tell you in 2010 what Adam Baxter had on it, what crank Adam had. I could tell you because I just remember weird things. He'll say like, "Oh, do you remember? I did this move and it was on that, that Rock Man or whatever." I go, "Oh yeah, you had, these forks." Like I can just remember those things. It's really bizarre.
Just suddenly a selective memory. You can picture it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're also one for being this guy that has had a range of disciplines in the sport. I mean that in the sense that you've ridden a bike that's got a seat on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you've ridden a BMX, which is even smaller wheels, because you're not really a 20-inch mod rider, but I have watched you ride a BMX. Someone that's ridden sort of all three, I am going to ask, what do you think? I'm not going to use the word best, but what do you feel you get the most out of? Or how can you give us a bit of insight to that? Because I can't really relate.
I think the thing is, it's not necessarily like trials or BMX. It's just riding a bike. Like they're all the same. If there are aspects of like mountain biking I enjoy where while you're riding up the hill, you're chatting away and talking shite, and then you go back down and you have the time of your life. And then the BMX is the same, where it's like trials where you sit around a bit and then you do a move and you come and sit back down and talk shite again. And then obviously the trials is the same. Yeah.
Skaters do it too,
We don't.
No, I mean like sit down. Sorry, I said skaters. I meant BMXers. I don't know why.
I was going to say BMXers.
I don't know why I said skaters. I meant BMX. BMXers do it too, like us. You do a move, go over, stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, but then that's what I like so much about it, because I mean, I have done a little bit of road riding. For shame, like it's.
Was that just to wear the lycra, or just?
Well, you know me.
Sadly, I do. So yeah, it was for the lycra. Go on.
Yeah, it was for the lycra. Yeah, but I've done a little bit of that, and it was enjoyable because you could sit and have a bit of crack on the way and talk to people and stuff. But there's nothing better than like riding, and not only are you talking about your life and and the things that are going on in your life, but or whatever, it just shooting shit basically.
Yeah.
Then you go, right, well, jab someone in the ribs and go, come on, do this move. I dare you, you won't, or whatever. So that's the best thing about, I suppose it's not between trials and BMX and mountain bikes. It's like extreme sports. In extreme mountain, like bike riding is what I like, because it just means you've got that kind of camaraderie with someone, you know.
You just like to have two wheels between your legs. That's all it is, you know.
Yeah, and a long top, and a nice long top tube.
And even sometimes you won't have a seat, you know, which we will we'll soon branch into those that world. I know I'll have some street trials going into the shindig world.
I think it could be one of those. It's one of those things that originally I was like very skeptical of, because I kind of thought, like, if you're going to ride a BMX, ride a BMX. If you're going to ride a trials bike, ride a trials bike. Yeah. But I've had one and I really enjoyed it, because, like, I mean, before doing this, actually, you said you wanted to do all this kind of thing. I thought, right, what kind of stuff is he going to pull up? So I had looked back through some videos and stuff, and I had a really good couple of hours just watching back through the stuff I've done. I thought, oh, that was cool, and this is cool, and I watched the video like I did with Aaron Brown, and I can just see myself. It's really bizarre. You see yourself ride past and you've got a big grin on your face, and you think, well, I must have been enjoying that, you know. It looked like good fun, and it's kind of that style, like we were talking about, Trial Noir, is the sort of the same bikes, but 20 years apart, you know. So,
and what are your? It's funny that you said that you know, the sport has progressed massively in terms of, you know, design, engineering, style as well, everything. I think that kind of changes with it. What are your thoughts on the new kind of the new designs, the new bikes? Because I'll just quickly say that over the years, like you said, you go through frames, you've gone through frames and forks, etc., etc. Now, this sort of new bikes, when I say that, Krukers, for example, in clean, you just buy the whole bike. Like, the cranks come with the frame, the forks come with it's this whole kind of, that is the bike, rather than, it feels like there's no point doing bike checks anymore, because you're like, bike check, Jealousy 2. Right, okay, I know everything that you've got. Whereas something like my bike, or there's a really funny bike check of you on the Toast that I do vaguely remember now. It must be on YouTube still, definitely. I'm sure Matt, shout out to Toast Bikes. I just remember that bike check very well, and it's so unique. Frame, forks, wheels. What are your thoughts on this kind of new approach?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I said we rode on Wednesday, and I turned up, and I was the only person not riding a Jealousy Ultimate with carbon forks and wearing a Tarty Bikes t-shirt. You know, it was like 3 people all dressed the same.
Oh no!
You know, I was thinking, like, I mean, from an engineering perspective, I can completely understand. If you're a bloke sat behind a desk designing a bike frame, you're right. You think, right, I want it stiffer. I want it not to break, and
and to do that, we need to make sure it's not universal.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? You know where I'm going with that.
I understand. Yeah, I do understand. I mean, I didn't really enjoy the Jealousy so much, because the geometry was wrong,
the geometry was different for you.
Yeah, right? It wasn't very good for me. So I had a Cleep 2, I think, but with carbon forks in, and honestly, I just felt I couldn't break it. I just couldn't break it. I could do the most ridiculous hooks, and I could throw it all over the place. And in my mind, I think it was more a mental thing. I just couldn't break it. So I did everything, and I really felt good on that bike. But it's kind of losing that little bit of
uniqueness.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, that cloud I've got, I've not done anything to it in 6 months or a year. The chain slaps about like buggery, and the freewheel's skipping a bit. But it is what it is, and I really like riding it, you know, because it's different. And I think sometimes if you want results in a competition, then by all means, go and buy a Krukers Jealousy 2 Ultimate, whatever, you know. But there's lots of bikes out there that they'll do a similar job, and even if you lose a little bit, you'll gain it in that. Like, it's not respect, but people look at it and go, "It's cool that he's doing it on a different bike."
I totally agree. Excuse me. Yeah, I totally agree. That same sense of, buying a car that's built, not bought. The same sort of thing. Like, yeah, you can drive it, might go faster to do this, but some people don't really care how high they might go. They might care how cool they look. I don't know. That's up to them.
Yeah.
But I do, I sort of agree with you. I do love the new frames. I think the engineering is spectacular, and I think they've kind of nailed it on the head there when it comes to the stiffness of that. But there's only so far you can go with being unique, and sadly, I have that trait. I love to have things that no one else has. It's just one of those things. I'm like, oh, it's the only one in the world. So I'm more drawn to those types of things. Exactly why my 20-inch mod is the only frame that exists. And I don't want to leave it. I was like, no, I don't want a jealousy, because that means I'll ride something that everyone has. So.
I think it depends on what you want, because if you want to get the move done, then you'll buy a crew.
Right.
Especially with, I mean, you see the full bikes now, and the bars are so far forward. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we've all been there in the past. I have as well. I've rolled the bars forward, and you get the move done, and to be honest, it's difficult to ride it in a smooth way. You're so far forward and so over the bike. Whereas if you could take a Krukers and just put a little bit of a slacker stem on, and roll the bars back a bit, and have a really nice, just a nice bike to ride. You can have lots of fun on them. You don't need to just bang shit out.
It is. If you want to get to that next level of height, if you want to get an extra let's just say an extra foot, I get it. Put the bars down. Yeah. And this is why trying to get that happy medium is that kind of level where you want to be able to do everything on the bike. I'll do this. That means I can't do a certain move, or I can't do this, that. And it's just so, to me, it just happens to have gone two extremes, whether that be, street trials to extreme competition riding. Obviously, they're different to watch, and they're different to even to do completely. So it's almost a different sport, but it's not. If you know what I mean? Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like even when I was riding, like, well, say street trials, you're talking about like you guys with your seats and stuff like that. But then the street trials, like lads riding, doing side ups and taps, like TGS Street, we were still riding comp bikes, but on the street, really, I suppose. So
that was kind of been a bit, wasn't it? Yeah. We're like, we'll be as good as the comp riders. We'll just ride on the flat walls.
Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? That's the problem. I've ridden probably about 3 comps in my entire life, and I just look for the biggest movement. Right, I'll do that. I'll impress, and even if I lose, people will still think about me doing that big move, so it's all right.
No, exactly. I would say there are riders that have made a massive name for themselves in terms of competing, and then others that have made a name for themselves purely from characteristics, and then there are others that have made themselves known for just power and style.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how you can't be everything. I don't know. Well, you could be Charlie Rolls, but I mean, you can't be every one of those generally, because I would say it in the sense that there's Danny Mac. He does a trick and does a move, but you could definitely do something that he can't do. That's my point.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we all watch Danny Mac, and the mind of that man is phenomenal. I think that's his USP. It's his, like, I think he's a phenomenally clever guy in the sense that he looks at something and does something completely different. He does something that it doesn't matter whether you watch it and think, "Oh, I could do that." It doesn't matter. He thought of it first.
And he is that guy bridging this kind of bike. I'll say biking community, because 100% BMXers watch him, mountain bikers watch him, trials riders watch him. Yeah. So he is that kind of guy who has sort of brought it together. And Who would have thought, who could push it to the next level? Martin Ashton was that kind of, you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, Martin Ashton was kind of the famous trials riders for a while, and sadly that sort of happened. And then now, how can you step up your game? But he did.
I don't think that like trials riders like us, like your seatless trials riders, we're never going to be, or I don't ever think I'll see a seatless trials rider at that kind of fame, because you were talking about shows and stuff. I've seen it where the public who can't ride those, who've never seen that, but they just can't understand the
They
physics.
don't relate to it, do they? They just that makes no sense.
The problem with the trials riding that we do is that, I mean, you're talking about, like, if you're talking about side ops, an inch, like an extra inch on your side op, could take you a year of riding to achieve. And when you think of it like that, like, if you said to somebody, I've ridden non-stop for 10 years to perfect this art, and then you jumped over a bar, they were like, right, is that it? I'm like, well, yeah. I've got no more than that.
Yes.
That's 10 years of experience, that is.
Bit of a plateau graph there, being like, pedal up, doing this, progression, learned everything.
Exactly.
Shit, well, can't go anymore. And you're like, 1 inch, and yeah.
But then this is where I you asked me where I find the joy in my riding, and that's it. I love now. I've kind of done that, and I went and then got to this level, and I thought, right, I don't want to do that anymore. The best thing about trials riding is the things that people can't see. You look at a line and go, right, if I want to go up there, and I'm going to drop my front wheel down and bridge that, and then go up to 2 or Frenchy or whatever. It's the crazy little stupid lines you set yourself. It's a challenge. It's like going on your phone and working out a puzzle or whatever. It's just little puzzles, and you go again, and then you've come out the other side and think, wow, I've achieved something, So it's good in that sense.
Yeah, and like everyone, like we said earlier, it's super hard, like you were saying, to actually get out and do that. And I sometimes feel that I have to force myself out on my bike purely in the sense that we know it will be beneficial. What do we're almost at an hour, mate. We're doing really well. How many beers have you had?
Right, I tell you what. On that note, 2 seconds.
Yeah, grab yourself a beer. I've got one more just here, and then you'll see. We've got about 5 minutes left, mate. We're all good.
Right, quick beer.
I realised maybe I should start doing the podcast in the evening. I'm quite enjoying it with a few beers instead of middle of the day.
Right, 5 minutes. What can we talk about?
Well, all sorts of things. We just have to be sensible. We could probably sit here and talk for hours, mate. Hours and hours. I forgot what I was going to ask then. It's okay. Oh, yes. So you have been out on your bike. That's great to hear. I'm loving that. I wasn't sure if you were still riding. I know lots of people have asked me. I did private message a few people to say, hey, what do you want to find out from Prattley? And they were like, is he still riding? And why are his hands so big?
It's funny, everyone mentions it.
I mean, they look, obviously look normal. I don't know. It depends. It's all perspective, isn't it? What I was getting to. So what genuinely do you feel that you need to do to motivate yourself to get on your bike? Is it somebody else that does that for you, that's like, yes, I'm going to do that? Or you watch a particular video? Sometimes videos get you going. What makes you feel like, I want to go on my bike?
It's a bizarre thing with me, and for me, it's kind of been, because it's been my life, and it has. I don't mean that in kind of like it's my life. I mean, when I left school, I worked in a bike shop, and then from there, I decided I wanted to do shows professionally, and then I worked in a skate park, and then now I've kind of like, I realised that it wasn't going to be the profession that I could do for the rest of my life. So I jumped.
I know what you mean.
and change jobs. So it has been my life, and it's so normal for me to jump in the car thinking, oh, I can't really be asked. And I get to where I'm going to ride, and then I start getting into it, and then so I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I go riding and think it's not for me.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that. You know, it might be a chore, right? You're like, this feels like a chore rather than me trying to enjoy it.
Like sometimes I get there and I think tonight's not the night, but you know, you can still get home and think, well, at least I've done something, you know. But I think even just getting out, and there's a lot of friends of mine, a lot of friends who ride BMX or trials or whatever. I just say to them, like, you know, the hardest bit is just getting in the car. You know, getting in the car and getting out of the house. Rather, you think, oh, it's so easy, just sit in front of the telly or go on a pub or whatever. But if you just get in the car, jump on the bike, if you've got the right people there, you'll soon get away.
The beer tastes better after a ride. That's what I always say.
That's absolutely it. You know, I mean, nothing I love more. I mean,
they go into Radfest and drinking 24 crates of beer at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So but the inspiration kind of, it's not so much inspiration anymore. It's kind of like I say, someone getting out of your bed. At the moment, the lads are like, all four of us that ride, we're kind of texting each other and saying like, oh, are we riding Sunday? And we'll like Chester will say keen, and then Baxter will say I'm keen, and I'm like, oh, I am keen.
Yeah, of course. You're like, no, I can't say no now, can I?
Well, no, this is it. It's nice that we're all like really keen about it and just really wanting to
ride. Yeah. Well, it's one of those things like no one wants to. It's not that I don't enjoy riding, but that relationship's like I don't enjoy the cold, or I don't enjoy, you know, being out freezing. I don't enjoy being in an unpleasant situation, which might be freezing cold. But this winter, I've ridden the most I've ridden in a winter in maybe 10. I don't know
how you do it.
When I first started, I was doing it. Don't get me wrong. It was kind of super exciting for me, like new and fresh. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is totally new. I'm going to keep doing it. But then I realized, like, especially, let's say the last 4 or 5 years that have gone by, I've not ridden my trials bike between the months of November to April. Just haven't. It's one of the things.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you whatsoever. I can't, like, I've seen what you guys have been out riding, and I saw the crash, the rail crash, and it reminds to me what riding in the winter is all about. And and if I didn't have the barn, I wouldn't have ridden trials in the winter. That is an absolute fact, you know. And that was partly, you asked like whether I enjoyed BMX or trials more. Partly the reason I rode BMX quite a lot is because I said, well, I'm indoors.
So much more established.
I can get a cup of tea whenever I want. You know, like, it's just nice. So, I mean,
until we get these massive trials parks officially built within the country, then it's not there. But it's another podcast, but there is now one in Cornwall. It's officially the largest indoor trials park. Well, sorry, unofficially, because it's on an abandoned warehouse. But amazing place to ride. And when this podcast comes out, the video for it should be out in a week later. So another good thing to bring to the community. So it's something that I know a lot of us have been trying to get that have opportunity to ride indoors and do that, and hopefully we shall see some more of it, to be honest. Mate, this has been amazing. I'm so glad we were able to catch up.
Well, it's been really good. Like I say, I'm hoping that we get out this year and get some riding in. You know, so
you will. I
get it in your diary.
Yeah, you will for sure. There's so many ideas I have for this year, things that I want to do. We don't know how our government, should I say, will allow us to do all of those, but there'll be hopefully something like Radfest. If not, we'll be trying to get together every person who's been on the podcast to hopefully get together, because I've just got this vision where I have this image of every single person we've podcast all in the same place, of all of us here.
Yeah.
I
All in your nice
really-
fancy merchandise.
You said it first, mate. You said it first. You know, we have been working on
I'll get that 10 quid after we finish.
a new logo. But don't worry. Well, I'm going to send a mug or any kind of merch to anyone that's been on the show too. But we do want it to be a place of media conversation. I'm going to give a shout out to James Brunt on YouTube. He is a Canadian guy who very recently gave us a shout out on his YouTube to say that because of us, he got back on his bike. So I couldn't be shout out to James. Thank you very much, mate. That was really inspiring, and I hope this is doing the same for Joe here to get people on to listen. Some of you have been lucky enough to meet this guy. Or quite the character, mate. No, I've really enjoyed chatting with you today. I know we could talk forever, but we'll have to stop at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say, well, I think it's really, really good what you're doing. I've enjoyed watching all the episodes, and I urge anyone who hasn't watched all the episodes so far to do so. You know, but
mate, it means
yeah.
It does mean a lot. Thank you so much. And it's nice that I know that you yourself, someone we haven't spoken in a while, didn't know if you were still riding your bike, but you've just told me that you're listening, which means I've been in your ear, whether you like it or not. So
Charlie FM is coming in your ear.
And yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to 2021. I'm hoping that the whole Shindig era is about a community, and I'm wanting it to grow. I want people to join the team. I want people to be part of it all. So you know, it's made by riders for the riders. The final one, the most important question, which we ask now: who do you personally want to see on the Shindig podcast?
Oh.
Name drop.
That's a good question. See, I spoke to Adam Baxter, and he said, "Oh, I'm not sure I'd know what to say." So I don't know whether
it's
Adam
funny because I
a
have
good example.
calling out Adam Baxter right now. Yeah, I've actually already asked him because I was like, well, you know, you currently run the largest trials page, should I say, on Facebook, for example. He's like the admin, the man. I'm sure he's got lots to say, but that's fine. We'll take that. Adam Baxter just gives me more.
No, I'm going to change my answer.
He's going to change your
No,
mind.
Adam
Bye,
Baxter.
Adam. Fuck off.
No, sorry. I think that
Go on.
if you want a good, juicy, crazy trial stories, I think the best person you could find is Mike Singleton. If you met Mike a couple of times, I presume.
Only when I say I met, I don't think he knew who I was at the time.
That man is, you know, when you talk about, I remember I saw a couple of podcasts where you're talking about show riders, and you were saying the things that these guys have done are crazy. 90% of those things I've seen and thought, what the hell is going on? Normally Mike Singleton. You need to get tie that guy down.
Well, Mike, if you're listening, which I hope you are, because otherwise he's not really a true trials rider in his heart. No, I'm sure he is. We're coming for you, Singleton. Another one to add to the list. Because what happens is, Joe, I've got a list of names. If it's one I haven't heard, I'm adding it, or I'm adding up a tally, adding names and dropping them to them. So absolutely, Singleton is getting added. Mate, I think we'll have to sadly leave it there before we get too carried away and take off and drink 100 beers.
Let's do that. Well, cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do that off air because now we have to, leave these guys to it for something to do. Prattley Power, amazing. Thank you so much, my friend, my fellow trials rider, all-round good guy. You cannot find him on Facebook because he's not on Facebook.
Yeah, please don't try and follow me.
Don't try and follow him. Don't try and do anything. But you can type his name into Google and find his IMDb page. You can also find him on YouTube doing a bike check there with the amazing Toast Bikes. So he is on the internet. He is a powerful rider. If you've never heard him or seen him before, go and check him out right now. Brother, thank you so much. I think we need to get riding soon, don't we?
Absolutely.
We'll wait till we can...
seeing as many people as we can this year, and hopefully let's make it a good one.
Yeah, I think 2021 will be the year. We'll make it happen, mate. Thanks again for coming on the show. We fucking love you, mate. Take care.
Thanks, boyo. See you soon.
Ciao for now. Bye.
Ah, you